Hello, everyone. I am just going to launch into this. I don't have much to say, so I'll just say what the little I have about Katherine, and then maybe if you want to ask a few questions before I go, so it doesn't feel like I'm just kind of jumping on and jumping off with no good content for you people. But listen, I'd really like to try and get people to start talking and organizing around Katherine Deves in Australia. I feel like Australian feminists, like Canadian feminists and American feminists, are much more isolated than British feminists. Even Irish feminists are kind of, closer groups than, even though they're in the country that sneaked through self-ID. Australia, I think Australia's got self-ID now. I could be wrong, but it certainly has a law whereby you can go to jail if you refuse to affirm a trans identity and put a child on puberty blockers and a lifetime of surgeries. Good afternoon, Mr. Soy. So Australia is really deep down the rabbit hole. Actually, I'm just sorry, I will look back at comments, but I'm just not going to be distracted by them for a sec. Australia is very, very deep down the rabbit hole. There's so much more vested interests in ignoring things that are going on in the wider world about trans issues, like ignoring the greater knowledge that people have now about the debate. For instance, the CAS report is just the interim CAS report. Anyone who talks about puberty blockers or cross-sex hormones as being completely safe is about to be doing some major backtracking when the CAS report comes out. And this law that Australia has, where you can go to prison for 12 years for putting a child through these experimental treatments. I think there's going to be inquiries about this, and I think the current administration in Australia, the current administration in Australia is going to have to answer for that eventually. Katherine is at the moment fighting against it, and the kind of forces against her are extremely crazy. I mean, for instance, I just found out today that the male in Australia is apparently very pro trans and very anti-Terf, because they're the ones who did a story about Katherine comparing something or other to the Holocaust, which if you look at the video, which I'll link to below this, she didn't do. The exact same thing happened to me. Pink News misrepresented a conversation I had with Derek Jensen, which I'll also link to. So this one is of particular interest to me. I'm always most kind of protective of people who are going through something that I went through, and the way they are misrepresenting what Katherine said is playbook. What happened to me it's just the same playbook. It's exactly the same. It's the thing of taking the least charitable interpretation of something and printing that rather than a halfway charitable thing. I mean, I know I've said this a lot, but I'm hoping that someday people will realize how interesting this is. I think it's fairly interesting. But my Wikipedia page, if ever there's an edit made to my Wikipedia page to make it more neutral. So for instance, they call me at the moment an anti-transgender campaigner. And if you change it back, if you edit it back, it's edited again within 15 minutes and reverts back to anti-trans. So there's someone who's got it on a watch list so that every time it gets edited, they get an alert and they change it back. So that's what we're up against. And we're up against also in Australia, a group of people who, like, we have our own here, but luckily in the UK, everything that happened. There's only a few people who've really pushed all their chips in, and I think they're fucked, right? Owen Jones, Michael Cashman, Ruth Hunt, Nancy Kelly, they're all fucked. Like, but I could be wrong. Nancy Kelly, the woman who accused lesbians of sexual racism, is still the head of Stonewall. So who knows? But I do think that after a while, the weight of all these combined things will just prove too much. And all these kind of people will be exposed. Billy Bragg, Peter Jukes just joined. The thing is now blocking every woman who stands up for herself. The list goes on. But having said that, I think in Australia, I think there's less pushback, and there's even less of a, I guess you would say, popular understanding of the issues. So I really would ask everybody to try and make I Stand with Katherine Deves go. Is it Deves? Oh God, I know his terrible second name's Deves. Yeah, yeah, Deves. Sorry, Katherine. It just jumped out of my head for a second. But I Stand with Katherine Deves. Try and make a trend. Let's have her wake up to some support for once, because she is really under attack from corporate media, social media, everything that's pushing the trans rights narrative. So yeah, so let me see. I'll have a look at it. That's what I wanted to say. I might have a couple of other things to say about it, but I'll have a look at comments and see if there's anything else to talk about. Oh, good morning from New Zealand. Okay, I thought it was in the middle of the night over there, so I didn't think they would that she would see it right now. Oh, hello from Maine. Hello, Sophie. Hi. Oh, yeah, Rich. So here's Rich from Australia saying, what's happening to Katherine is devastating. I sincerely hope she pulls through it and never apologizes again. Yeah, she actually apologized for that Holocaust thing because, as we all know, David Bridle did this as well. Apologizing is something that's demanded by people who don't really understand the issue immediately. Like her bosses or whoever she is in a position of power to her at the moment would demand an apology like that so that it doesn't catch on fire. But I tell you what she did a really clever thing. She deleted her Twitter account because she knows well that by the way, if Catherine's up, have her send me an email and I'll do an interview with her. I'll see if I can get her on. She might be up. You never know. Sometimes when you're under this kind of assault, you don't sleep. So, I'll leave my email open, Katherine, in case you are. But also she may not be able to defend herself. One thing I know about politicians from having met a few who are embroiled in all this stuff is that they're often under very strict rules as to what they can and can't say to defend themselves. So, yeah. All right. So, yeah, here's something else that's coming up, right? Like Stonewall. Stonewall will not survive the Alison Bailey case. It just won't. It's so explicitly anti-lesbian and there's so many things that they can point out that Stonewall have done and have said. Yeah. So anyway, sorry. I've just got distracted by something as well. But yeah, they won't survive it. It's too much of a scandal. And for some people seem to need things written out in the newspaper before they believe it's true. It's very depressing, but the doubt around everything now is so pervasive that it's really hard to get across to people. This stuff is true. The head of Stonewall is calling lesbians sexual racists. It's true. It's not like I'm not pulling it out of my arse. That was in newspapers. What it wasn't followed up by was any kind of controversy. It's like, oh, okay, I mean, it just blows me away how little people care for women and for lesbians. I really am running out of ways of trying to get it across to people. A few friends now I'm involved in talking to, and they're lovely people, but you'll often see a kind of it's like I'm talking about lab rats or something. It's like, how do you explain to people that they should compare about women and kids? How do you do it? I really would like some tips on that. What else is happening? Yeah, there was a brilliant guy. Here's a quote. Sometimes you have to pinch yourself to check if you're not having a nightmare where the sterilization of children is championed by so many people with such enthusiasm. The thing that really kind of hits me, another thing that I don't, it's like, why is it not a news story, is the fact that testosterone will make all these girls go into early menopause. 30 years too early, these girls will go into menopause, because they want to have a mustache and they want to pretend to be a gay man. You've seen the most disgusting thing, the how to have gay sex with a trans man video. It's horrific. I mean, it really is horrific. It's pure conversion therapy. That's it. That's all it is. It's pure conversion therapy. You know what I mean? It should be called How to Have Straight Sex If You're a Gay Person, which is conversion therapy. So yeah, I mean, these women who have taken a load of testosterone, so they've grown like mustaches and beards and gone and got male pattern baldness, will also get atrophy of their vagina. Their vaginas will atrophy 30 years too early, And as Elaine Miller pointed out in her video, that leads to kind of itching and sleeplessness and pain. And there's things you have to deal. There's things that menopausal women do to deal with it, and these women are going to have to do it 30 years early. Is anyone talking to them about this? I saw another tweet from Noah Halpin recently. It said something like, "Oh, I must start trying to do screen sharing. It's so annoying not doing when I don't. I need to sort that out. Sorry, I will start doing it." But Noah Halpin mentioned a drug. Let me see. I was talking to a friend about it. I'll see if I can find. I guess this is why Tim Dillon has the person on the computer next to him. Anyway, I can't remember the name of the drug, but it said, let's say it was called Zoptrone or something. Someone might be able to tell me what it was. Zoptrone or something. And she said, had my Zoptrone injection today. Those who know. And there was a little gif of a person going, ouch, And I asked someone, why would Noah Halpin be on Zoptrone? And my friend said, my guess is that Noah will be on a drug that will have been sold to her as life-saving, and she'll be on that for 30 years, something like that, and that has no discernible positive effects. They're basically like people have always done in rock music, Elvis Presley films, the Beatles. They're trying to make money off young people, and this time they're not selling them records. They're selling them body modification and a lifetime of pain. I mean, it really is desperately sad when you see something like that. How to have trans sex with a gay, how to have gay sex with a trans man. Like these girls have been literally told that they're now the opposite sex. It's mass brainwashing, industrial brainwashing, and we've all been kind of ground up in the gears of history because we all oppose it. So that's what Katherine Deves is doing, but she's doing it in Australia with, I think, much less. It's not Zombie-tron, yeah. She's doing it with much less support. I'm sure she's got a great team around her and a great team of people and feminists and Australian feminists. But again, I know what it's like. Even when you're surrounded by support, a lot of it's virtual. So she needs to know that the people next door to her agree with her. That's what she needs. So this needs to be kind of promoted so that it hits those people, so that people who are just kind of looking on, who don't understand the issues, or saying, "Oh, is this person a bigot?" and stuff like that, get into those comment sections and Facebook pages, and have it out with people. I mean, politely, but have it out with them. Tell them the issues, tell them the problems. Send them things, send them videos on Jazz Jennings and Susie Green. I mean, it still amazes me that the Susie Green video, which she herself puts out, is actually still out there, because it's all there. The homophobia of this movement, the insanity of it, the cruelty of it, the gaslighting, the parents with Munchausen's, It's all there. It's all there. The homophobic parents. Susie Green's own words is the greatest prosecution against her. You know. So I'll post the link to that as well underneath. Oh yeah, this is a good news story I just heard. How about that then? 2 women impregnated in a women's prison by a woman. And you know, I mean, I don't know. As I say, I think these things are going to become, the weight is going to become too much to bear in Australia as well as everywhere else. But I think it might take Australia longer, and I think it means for us to be, you know, working to influence or, you know, basically to support Australian feminists. So that's what I wanted to say. I'm just wondering if there's anything else I should do. I feel bad. I don't know. Like I shouldn't turn it into an AMA, but I don't know. Sorry, I wish I hadn't pulled that face. That'll be used against me. Is there anything else I can say? Oh yeah, there's lots of good stuff coming up, exciting stuff. So that's all I can say. Oh yeah, there's another one. 3 teenage girls injured by a boy in a girls' rugby match. That's a good one, isn't it? Again, how do you get people to care? I mean, I send it to people. I send it to everyone. It's like, you know, you might as well be talking about the fate of, you know, weird dogs that have been bred to look like, you know, old men. It's people just aren't interested. I cannot get people to be interested. It's crazy. One thing I think that, like, I always wish that I would see a little bit more of is women saying, I find that offensive, you know, because this wouldn't have got anywhere if the reaction had to the first cross-dresser had been the same as the reaction to Rachel Dolezal, you know. But basically, all these liberals are scared of black people, but they're not scared of women, which is why it's gone, which is why this form of appropriation and colonization and American cultural imperialism has survived so long. Yeah, thanks for the beans. It's a nice new flat. I'm in the middle of town. I have a lovely time, and I'm writing a lot, which you will see the results of soon. Okay, I think I'll leave it at that. Support Katherine Deves. Please make her be a hashtag and all that sort of stuff, you know, and let's let them hear us in Australia. Thanks a lot, guys.